Hi, it's Miss M, and today we're going to learn about the discriminant, and this is referring to the discriminant in the quadratic formula. So if we take a look at the quadratic formula, we know that it's x equals a negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that's our quadratic formula. The discriminant is this part, discriminant. It's the part that is inside of the square root sign. And the discriminant is really cool because it's going to tell us if our answer is real, if our answer is imaginary. It's also going to tell us if we have two solutions, if we have if we have two real solutions, two imaginary solutions, or a double solution. And we can do all of that all without solving this whole thing. We can just focus on this part in here. Okay, and when we get to graphing, it'll tell us how many x-intercepts we're going to have. If we have two real numbers, we'll have two x-intercepts. If we have two imaginary answers, we'll have no x-intercepts, and a double solution would be 1. So let's just, and okay, hopefully you're writing this stuff down as you watch this, because this part right here we're going to refer back to throughout this video. So the discriminant, and it's called that because it discriminates between a real and an imaginary answer, okay? So in this case, discriminating is not a negative thing. It's just telling us, is the answer real or is the answer imaginary? Okay, so again, our discriminant is just b squared minus 4ac. Okay, don't write just in your answers, but that's all that it is. So whenever we're solving for it, we're only going to write this. And it's always going to give a number. You will always get a number from this. If the number is positive, that means there are two real solutions. If the number is negative, that means there are two imaginary solutions. And if the answer is 0, that means there is a double solution, which means one solution twice. Okay, so that is what we're going to get from our discriminant. Positive means two real solutions. That means it crosses the x-intercept twice. Negative, it's two imaginary solutions. This means that our graph never crosses the x-intercept, but if we were to look at an image of the reflection of our graph, where the reflection crossed the x-intercept would be at those imaginary solutions. And then 0, double solution, or one solution twice, it's going to touch the x-intercept at this point, but it's not going to cross. Okay, so that's what all this means. We're going to look at 4 examples to help us understand the discriminant. So example 1, we have 3x squared minus 8x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, now remember, in a quadratic equation, when we're solving for a quadratic, we always want to make it equal to 0. This is equal to 0, so then we're good to go ahead and assign our values. A, B, C. A equals 3, B is negative 8, and C is 2. And if you forgot that, that's just based off of our standard form of our quadratic. The value in front of the x squared is the a, the value in front of x is the b, and the last value, the one without an x, is c. Okay, so we have our values. Now we need to write discriminant, and you always have to write that out. There's not a shortcut. Discriminant, I know every time I think I spell it wrong, equals b squared minus 4ac. Remember, that's the whole discriminant. If you forgot where it came from, it's this part right here that's inside the square root, but we don't include the square root when we're figuring out our discriminant. We just do b squared minus 4ac. Now we're going to plug in our values. B squared, well, b is -8. So remember, whenever you write b for b squared, you always put it in parentheses. Otherwise, you're going to get the wrong answer. So -8 squared minus 4 times 3 times 2. Okay, -8 squared is 64. That's why, remember, it's important to put it inside of quotes, because if you put this in your calculator and you leave the quotes out, you're going to get -64 here, which would give you the complete wrong answer. 64 minus 4 times 3 times 2. Well, there's only one negative, so we know it's going to stay negative. 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 times 2 is 24. So we have 64 minus 24. When I do this, 64 minus 24, that is 40. Okay, so 40 is what I get for my discriminant. I can't say that my answer is 40 because I'm not done. All I did was solve the discriminant. So my discriminant equals 40. I come up here. 40 is a positive number. If it's a positive number, it means I'm going to have two real solutions. So all I'm going to write is I'm going to write two real solutions. Because whenever you're asked for the discriminant in a problem, what it's asking you is it's asking you, what is your answer going to look like? Are you going to have two real solutions, two imaginary solutions, or a double solution? Okay, so to answer this question, we need to say, what are our solutions going to be like? And they're going to be two real solutions because our answer was 40, which is a positive number. Let's take a look at another example. Number 2, x squared minus 3x equals -25. Now remember, before we can do anything else, we have to set our equation equal to 0, which means this -25 over here, we're going to have to move it over to the left, and we do that by adding it. So we get x squared minus 3x plus 25 equals 0. Now I can go ahead and assign my variables a, b, c. A equals 1, b equals -3, and c equals 25. Okay, next up, what's my discriminant? Discriminant equals b squared minus 4ac. Okay, my b is negative, meaning I need to be very careful and put it inside of parentheses. -3 inside of parentheses squared minus 4 times 1 times 25. Okay, 3 squared is 9. So -3 times -3 is 9. So I write 9. Minus 4 times 1 times 25 is -100. 9 minus 100 is -91. Okay, now we're done. We have our answer, but now we just need to say, we have our number. Now we need to look at that number and say what our solution is going to look like. Okay, go up to our notes. Well, it says here if I have a negative, I have two imaginary solutions. So that's what I'm going to write. Two imaginary solutions. Okay, and that's it. I'm going to put a square around that because that's the answer that I'm looking for. Two imaginary solutions because my number value was a negative. All right, next, 3. Two more examples. 5x squared equals 4. Okay, first step is always what? Set it equal to 0. So I need to subtract 4 from both sides, which would give me 5x squared minus 4 equals 0. I'm going to assign my variables a, b, c. A equals 5. B, if you notice, there's no term here with an x. There is no x term, which means that my number in front of that x term must have been 0, because 0 times x is 0, and that's the only way I could have gotten rid of that x. So b is 0 and c is -4. Discriminant equals b squared minus 4ac. Okay, b is 0, so that's 0 squared. Still put it in parentheses because it's a good habit. Minus 4ac. 4 times 5 times -4. Okay, well, 0 squared is 0, so I write 0. Now here I have two negatives, negative and negative. So I'm going to go ahead and just write a positive because I know that negative times a negative gives me a positive number. 4 times 5 is 20, and that times 4 is 80. So I get 80. 0 plus 80. So for my total answer, my number, I get 80. 80 is a positive number. If we scroll up to the top, positive means there's two real solutions. So I would just say 2 real solutions, meaning it's not imaginary, it's real. They're real numbers. Okay, last example, example 4. X squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. I already have it equal to 0, so I can go ahead and assign my variables a, b, c. A equals 1, b equals -8, and c equals 16. Discriminant equals b squared minus 4ac. Okay, b is -8. -8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 16. 8 squared is 64, minus 4 times 16 is also 64. So I get 64 minus 64, which gives me the number 0. If I scroll up, I can see that if I have 0 as my discriminant, I know I'm going to get a double solution. So I'm going to go ahead and write double solution. So my discriminant tells me that my answer is going to be a double solution, which in effect, or which basically means one solution or one answer twice. Okay, and that is it for this video. And in the last video for this week, what we're going to be doing, as you'll see very shortly, is you're going to be taking everything we've learned so far and you're going to be plugging it into solving with the quadratic formula. It'll just be very similar to what we did last week, only this time there will be imaginary solutions. And last week there were not any imaginary solutions. So get excited. All right, I'll see you guys later.